Hello? When it comes to prison breaks, we immediately think of two famous cinematic and television works. These are the movie The Shawshank Redemption and the popular 2005 television series Prison Break, starring Wentworth Miller. These classic films have left a deep impression on us, and the inspiration for these film and television works largely stems from reality. In fact, there have been many successful prison breaks, such as the famous escape in the 1960s. Some prisoners successfully escaped from a prison surrounded by the sea. However, successful prison escapes often depicted in movies are typically due to prisons using outdated equipment or technology from earlier periods. Nowadays, most prisons are equipped with advanced devices, making it very difficult for prisoners to escape. The case I would like to discuss with you today did not only occur in a modernly equipped prison, but also in a prison where no escape had ever occurred since its establishment 185 years ago. This is the Clinton Correctional Facility escape in 2015, which happened approximately 8 years ago. Clinton Correctional Facility is located in Dannemora, New York, USA, and was built in 1845. A nearby mountain named Lion stands there. The purpose of building the prison was to allow prisoners to easily engage in mining and labor activities on the mountain. By 1877, after the prisoners had finished mining, the continuously increasing number of inmates meant the prison was almost out of space. Therefore, they decided to expand and renovate the prison, constructing more cells and new facilities. They raised the walls of the entire prison to the height of a 4 to 5 story building. Because of the improved technical specifications, the prison also became a place for dangerous criminals. It boasts one of the world's top management systems and security equipment, with nearly 1,000 guards alternating shifts and imprisoning nearly 3,000 inmates. It is also known as the largest and safest prison in New York State, with nearly zero chances of escape. However, in 2015, 2 inmates successfully escaped from Clinton Correctional Facility. So, what happened on that day? And how did the 2 inmates manage to escape? Next, let's rewind back to June 6, 2015. At 5:30 a.m. on June 6, 2015, the guards at Clinton Correctional Facility began their routine morning head count. The cells in Clinton Correctional Facility are divided into various sections. Besides the regular cells, there is also a special area called the honor block. The cells in the honor block are different from the regular cells. These cells are relatively large, and all are single occupancy. Additionally, inmates here can schedule times each day to watch TV, make phone calls, and even use the kitchen, showers, and studio. The facilities here are the best in the entire prison. Most inmates at Clinton Correctional Facility are serious criminals serving life sentences. The honor block is a highly coveted area among inmates. Only those with good behavior, education, and reform records can live here. Cells 23 and 24 in the honor block are adjacent cells located on the 4th floor. One cell housed Richard Matt, born in 1966. He was imprisoned for kidnapping and murdering his 72-year-old former employer in 1998. The other cell belonged to David Sweat, born in 1980. He was sentenced for killing a police officer in 2002. In the early morning, when the guards finished the routine head count in the regular cells, they proceeded to count in the honor block cells. When they reached cells 23 and 24, the guards called out Matt and Sweat's names for the head count, but no one responded. Looking inside, it seemed they were still asleep. Angrily, the guards banged on the cell bars to wake them up. After prompting 2-3 times, the figures on the beds remained motionless. The guards then used their flashlights to check inside and realized something was wrong. They opened the cells to investigate and discovered the 2 inmates were missing. The guards quickly reported to the command center. Immediately, alarms rang and all cells were locked down. All police personnel were mobilized to meticulously search every corner of the prison. After the search yielded no results, the guards reported to the governor of New York. Consequently, more than 450 police officers and several helicopters were deployed for the search mission. Roadblocks were quickly established on major roads, and every passing vehicle underwent strict inspection. A search was conducted on all the households in the town. Because the escapees were dangerous criminals, the operation to capture them was intensified significantly. This not only made it harder for the 2 inmates to escape, but also created a sense of panic among the local residents. So how did they manage to break out of prison? After an investigation, investigators found a neatly carved rectangular hole under the beds in cells 23 and 24, in the honor wing where the 2 inmates were held. That position used to be a vent with an iron grid, big enough for a person to crawl through. Behind the vent was a narrow corridor filled with various kinds of pipes. Their cells were located on the 4th floor. After getting out of the vent, they climbed down to the 1st basement through a gap in the slatted alley. There, they made a hole in a steam pipe. The pipe had a diameter of 60 cm, enough for a person to crawl inside. Before leaving, they left a provocative note with a smiley face and the words "Have a nice day." After entering the pipe, they continued crawling for hundreds of meters to reach the sewer system. Through the sewer system, they climbed up a shaft, opened a manhole cover, and successfully escaped. That position was 120 meters away from the prison wall. Let's look at the prison map together. Here is the position of the inmates' cells. Here is the sewer exit where the 2 inmates escaped. That position is 120 meters away from the prison wall. Not far from the manhole are guard towers 1 and 2. According to the prison guard's testimony, a routine nighttime roll call was conducted at 10:30 p.m. on June 5th, the night before the escape. They were sure that both Matt and Sweat were in their cells that night, so the escape happened between around 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. the next morning. Due to the low visibility outside the prison at night, and the fact that no prison break had ever occurred, the guards on the 2 watchtowers were inattentive and did not see the 2 inmates emerge from the manhole. During the investigation, the investigators suspected that the 2 could not have escaped from such a high security prison on their own. There had to be someone helping them. The investigators checked Matt and Sweat's communication records with the outside world for clues, but found nothing suspicious. They then ruled out the possibility of outside help and shifted their investigation to the internal prison staff. An internal investigation was launched. Among the suspects was a staff member named Joy Mitchell, 51 years old. Daily, she arranged some sewing work for the prisoners and taught related skills. Some inmates reported to the investigators that Sweat had inexplicable relationships with Mitchell. Mitchell often called Sweat to the office alone for various reasons. This did not happen just once or twice. The relationship between the two was very ambiguous because Mitchell was also 51 years old, no longer young. This made them a hot topic of conversation among the inmates after meals. Additionally, many inmates saw Matt go into Mitchell's office alone several times. After learning of these clues, the investigators believed this situation was not coincidental. So, they immediately summoned Mitchell, and she confessed to everything. It turned out that Mitchell and her husband were both employees of Clinton Correctional Facility. Over time, their marital relationship weakened, creating an opportunity for outsiders to take advantage. All inmates at Clinton were male. She was a sewing instructor there, so she received attention and affection from Sweat and Matt. Gradually, Mitchell developed feelings for them, emotions she hadn't felt in a long time. Matt and Sweat noticed this and continued to court her with love, eventually conquering her both emotionally and physically. Matt and Sweat took the opportunity to provocatively highlight the unhappiness and monotony of Mitchell's marriage. They promised that if Mitchell helped them escape, they would take her with them to Mexico. They promised her a new life filled with happiness. Mitchell, moved by this, decided to help them. She proactively provided both with hacksaw blades, screwdrivers, and other tools. Daily, she hid the tools in frozen food bags of the prison. Then Matt and Sweat would retrieve the food bags one by one. Additionally, Mitchell provided them with crucial information such as guard patrol schedules and the prison's pipe distribution map. As the investigation progressed, the investigators discovered that, aside from Mitchell, there were others in the prison who also helped them. Matt really enjoyed painting and was a well-known artist within the prison. He was assigned to the prison's honor block due to his good behavior. There, he had a dedicated studio to paint. Matt did a lot of good work. He particularly enjoyed painting portraits of celebrities. Soon after, a guard named Palmer couldn't withstand the pressure and confessed to investigators that he liked Matt's paintings. So much that he brought screwdrivers, pliers, and other tools to get Matt's paintings. He thought Matt used those tools only to frame his paintings. However, they were actually used for the prison escape. It was with those tools that Matt and Sweat once prepared a way out. Matt and Sweat prepared for the escape for over half a year. They used a hacksaw to cut the vent under the bed. Every night at 10:30 p.m., there would be a head count, and every 2 hours, the guards would patrol. To avoid detection when the guards looked into their cell, they stuffed clothes under the blankets to make it look like someone was sleeping. Because of the dim lights and low visibility at night, they could use this simple method to fool the guards. After deceiving the patrolling guards repeatedly, they quickly figured out a way to escape through the steam pipes, spending months using a small hacksaw to cut a hole. During the winter, the pipes were full of hot steam due to the heating systems. Therefore, they chose to escape in June when the pipes were not in use. They climbed hundreds of meters along the steam pipes and then down to the ground through the maintenance pipes. According to the initial plan, Mitchell would pick them up at an agreed location with a car. Additionally, they had given Mitchell 2 pills beforehand to secretly give to her husband. That way, they could kill him more easily. However, that night, because of her long-held feelings for her husband, Mitchell couldn't go through with it, leading her to suffer from anxiety due to extreme stress. Because of this, her husband took her to the hospital for a checkup, causing the plan to go awry. That night, when the two emerged from the tunnel, they found no getaway car. They had to fend for themselves. They never expected Mitchell to break the rendezvous. According to Mitchell, they only had Plan A with no Plan B. Without Mitchell's help, the escape became much more difficult for both of them. Although Clinton Correctional Facility had many modern surveillance devices, unfortunately, those devices were only used to monitor the inside of the prison. Outside, there were only a few cameras, and the place where they escaped had no surveillance cameras. Therefore, after the escape, the prison didn't know which direction they had gone or where they were headed. According to the initial plan, they were supposed to go to Mexico. But being in the northern part of the United States, Mexico was too far. Without Mitchell's car, they might have changed their original plan. Since the police didn't know the direction both of them were moving, they had no clues on the first day of the investigation. On the second day, the governor of New York at the time, Andrew Cuomo, issued a statement offering a $100,000 reward for anyone providing effective clues. The police knew the longer it took, the more disadvantageous it was to chase them. Therefore, they continuously dispatched additional police forces for a more extensive search and pursuit. They set up checkpoints everywhere, making it so the two prisoners dared not take major roads or contact anyone. Once the news spread, town residents and people in neighboring areas became more vigilant. There were police patrols everywhere. If they tried to look for food in the area, it could end poorly. Thus, their only option was to survive in the wilderness. On a June 27th, the police received a call from a man named John Chowdak. He usually took his dog hunting deep in the forest and had built a cabin there for convenience. As he approached the cabin, he saw a man hastily running away from a distance. Once inside, he found everything in disarray. The food and alcohol had been nearly consumed. The police quickly went to the scene and took food samples and some items to test for DNA traces. The results showed it was the DNA of Matt and Swit. In the call, the man reported seeing one person running away. This could infer that the two had split up and ran in different directions. Immediately, the police divided into teams to search the surrounding areas and directions. 4 days later, they found Mac fleeing in the forest at a location more than 60 km from the border, and he was shot dead. His body had multiple insect bites, blisters, and scratches, indicating that he had suffered greatly during his 20 days on the run. 2 days later, Squat was also shot and wounded by patrol officers just a few kilometers from the border. In his backpack, they found several tools, an insect repellent spray, maps, and snacks. The next day, the media reported on the capture of the fugitive. People took to the streets to cheer, and finally, they no longer had to live in fear. In February 2016, Squat was sentenced to 7 years in prison in addition to his previous life sentence and fined Dard 80,000. The seamstress Mitchell was sentenced to 7 years in prison and fined 6,000. Prison officer Palmer was sentenced to 6 months in prison and fined 5,000. Thus, the Clinton prison case came to an end. The New York State Police showed us a textbook-style search operation for 2 inmates. The escapees received appropriate punishments. In reality, breaking out of prison is extremely difficult. Any mistake in any step can lead to the nullification of previous efforts. Even if you manage to get out, everything might just be beginning.